Journal entry by Lainey Quilholt. I woke from a dream one morning. Maybe it began as a dream, but turned into a nightmare. Anyway, the dream began with me in the back seat of a car with my parents, now dead, driving. I don't know where we were or where we wound up, but I had a sense of traveling, much like when we were on that fateful trip in Colorado. The beginning portion I couldn't remember very well, but the ending I could remember with great clarity. I was in swift water, struggling to keep my head up, trying to get to shore, when a dark hand reached down to pull me up to safety. I didn't understand the meaning of this dream until weeks later. Chapter 1. "This is not rocket science, folks, but it's close," Mr. Taylor said as he paced the front of the class, black marker in hand, ready to pounce on the whiteboard as he had during the last 45 minutes to jot down basics of writing. "Writing a novel isn't like writing that essay for English in 5th grade where you fill in a lot of bullshit description just to fill pages." Some of the students around me chuckled, as did I. There was a certain energy which Mr. Taylor threw off like a Yorkshire terrier in a room full of people. I grew fond of him within the first 5 minutes of my 7 o'clock class in my first ever college course. Everything he said I agreed with, and he said a number of new things that had me excited about starting that novel of mine. He stepped up to the whiteboard, where he'd written out several headings with a number beside them. He'd been going through these for the first portion of the hour, pausing to make a point, questioning us for our ideas and input, and to add his own to each subheading. His marker poised at "Describe character's physical appearance." He wrote "blue eyes" in an almost illegible downward scrawl. Now, I don't know about you, but if a writer goes into great detail about what a character looks like, what they're wearing, that they have a mole on their right cheek, green flecks in their otherwise brown eyes, I'm out of there, he said. He turned to us. Jane Austen's description of Elizabeth Bennet was that she had fine eyes. It's up to the reader to figure out the meaning of that and use their own imagination. If your character has brown eyes or blue eyes, fine. Write that. But don't waste a whole friggin' page on the color of their eyes. Unless you got a vampire with all black eyes, of course. I'd like to know that. More chuckles. He turned back to his list on the board and tapped protagonists and characters. No one is perfect, and if your protagonist is perfect, then they're boring. Saints are nice, but I'm sorry, they're boring. Unless you behead them, of course, then you have a story. Laughter. A new writer makes a lot of glaring mistakes, and this, I can say, is one of my pet peeves. Give your protagonists a trait that might be considered a little wacky or off. He or she can have a scar or a tattoo that stands out just to make them memorable. In any case, make them marred on the inside as well as outside. No one is perfect. He gave everyone the eye. And don't give your detective a drinking problem. That's old hack. Chuckles all around the room. Find some other maladjustment. Maybe he's OCD. You know, like Monk. This was met with a few chuckles from the older students. The rest of us just stared. Leaning on his desk, he shook his head and sighed. Once again, I'm dating myself. He smiled at those who knew what character he'd meant. There were older students, over 30, sprinkled throughout the 25 or so students.